outset, thank the Honorable Finance Minister for coming out with a comprehensive statement on a midterm review of the Indian economy. This is perhaps the first time that such a statement has been placed before the country. And as the very opening sentence of the statement says, that this report therefore is in the nature of a status paper on the current situation, is in part fulfillment of the obligation and responsibility. While the report indicates some possible courses of action at the current junction, it does not purport to be either a budget or a forerunner to the budget. It is, as has been promised by the Finance Minister, a part of the process of opening up of the entire budget-making process. The aim is to make policy formulation as well as the monitoring of a continuous effort rather than once-a-year event. Sir, we at least did not expect that the mid-year review would announce any major policy changes as far as the government is concerned. There are no knee-jerk reactions in the matter of management of the economy, but as the opening paragraph itself indicates, it's a process of making the entire performance of the Indian economy more transparent, giving authentic data so that the course for the future at least can be debated in the country itself. Sir, the report does indicate that there are several positives. It also indicates several areas of concern even today. Last year, we had a growth rate of about 5.4%, despite the deceleration in the growth rates world over. The first quarter this year has already indicated a 6% growth rate in the GDP. When I analyze this document, the strengths or the positives, if I may call it, which were evident were, inflation appears to be broadly under control. Despite drought in several parts of the country, the food grain supply situation and the buffer stocks situation seems to be satisfactory. There is a strong balance of payment situation. Exports seem to have increased by almost as high in the first half by 13.5%. There is a negative import bill, mainly on account of decline in the oil bill. Despite a poor monsoon, the inflation remains broadly at 3%. There is no significant increase in the food prices. As has been conceded, there has been a significant and a noticeable growth as far as infrastructure sector is concerned, 5.6%. Industrial production, the growth has been 5.2%. Several sectors like steel, textile, there is a turnaround which is visible. Tax revenues have also increased. Then there are also areas of concern, sir. And the areas of concern also are in the nature, first on account of a scanty monsoon this year, which may result in a decline as far as agricultural growth is concerned. There is still an element of uncertainty as far as global trade situation is concerned. High international oil prices, no visible increase in FDI inflows into the country. And on account of all these pressures, the projected growth rate has then been about 5 to 5.5%. There are areas, sir, where the effect of the reform process is visible. The highway construction project seems to be going on satisfactorily. There is also a detailed report, state-wise, which is annexed with regard to the situation of the power sector reforms in each state. And though somewhat limping, it seems to be moving slowly in a direction in which we would have liked it to grow. But after hearing, sir, my friend, Mr. Nilotpat Basu, who is not with us at this moment, I find that my concern is not merely one that dwells from these figures and the direction which is given as far as the mid-year review is concerned. Even when Shri Pranab Mukherjee was graceful enough to say that Shri Basu could have the time of the Congress benches because he was making a point. There was one area on which at least he distanced himself from the Congress benches and said, has time come to review the course which Dr. Manmohan Singh, our former finance minister, and the current leader of opposition in 1991 had placed the economy onto. He was then critical of us for having carried on that process at a pace much faster than what Dr. Manmohan Singh had originally envisaged. At the same time, he did express that has the time now come for us to think in terms of consensus, be it starvation deaths, be it reforms as far as other areas are concerned. So it is this concern and the initial comment that Shri Basu had made which actually prompts me that this is at a stage when we are having a midterm review of the economy and we are actually considering and introspecting whether the course we set upon 12 years ago was a correct course or not. He did mention some of the concerns which he thought were very relevant. May I just give one or two illustrations which I came across recently? I am not mentioning these illustrations only to score a point in the course of this debate. And it is irrespective of which party said what. Last week, the Gujarat elections got concluded. In the Gujarat elections, one of the parties had an important statement in its election manifesto that amongst the first things we will do is to abolish the Electricity Regulatory Authority. Now, this was not off-the-cuff statement. It was consciously put as a part of a considered political decision in the election manifesto, perhaps out of consideration. And as he himself mentioned that the people of West Bengal are on the roads because of some recent decision of the Electricity Regulatory Authority, that perhaps having a regulatory authority which then fixes up the tariffs at times become unpopular with the people who control a large number of votes. I remember the same situation took place in Kerala last year when the current chief minister, trying to balance the finances of the state, wanted to be a little conservative in the matter of giving certain more concessions to the government employees, and we had those not in agreement with him almost paralyzing the life in the state for almost a month. West Bengal, for instance, today is facing a similar problem, and the problem, as I understand it, stems from the fact who should pay for litigation. Should the litigant pay by way of court fees? And if the litigant doesn't pay by way of court fees, the general taxpayer will have to pay through the state exchequer, because somebody will have to pay for the cost of those litigations. And you have courts in the state of West Bengal almost paralyzed, with many people supporting that agitation. You had the Punjab experiment, where the chief minister promised one fact before the elections, but ultimately found himself unable to live with that situation. The question which Mr. Basu raised was, as I reframe it, it is being considered by a large number of us, and this is frequently raised in this house, outside this house, have the reforms got a political cost attached to them? And therefore, whenever we raise these questions, then political popularity, political expediency really is that in a number of areas you start going slowly. It is not for the first time that this is being raised in this context today. I remember in 94, 95, when we had about 3 years experience of the reforms, Dr. Manmohan Singh was the finance minister, this question was raised across the board, including in his own political party. Are these reforms perceived to be pro-rich, not influencing the life of the poor man? And therefore, this being the position, is it a correct course that we have gone on? Sir, Shri Basu wanted us to actually debate whether this 91 course, which was a turning point, was a correct course that we embarked upon or not. Sir, I wish to join issue squarely with him on this. Pre-91, Yes, I'll...
I think either my English is too poor or somehow I could not put across. The point I made is simply this. The vision that was there, on the basis of which the empirical experience that the Indian economy has come to be enriched with in the subsequent 11 years, I feel that we feel that there is need for a mid-term review of that.
So I think I'm very grateful to Shri Basu for having re-emphasized his point. I precisely want to join issue with what he has said. The issue is not over language or grammar. The issue is, and this is my view, that if a review at all is required at this stage, it is perhaps the process that we have launched upon, which needs to be further accelerated and not turned in any other direction. I say this very squarely and I say this out of conviction. I do recollect, sir, pre-1991, we have, and there are many in this house much older, much more experienced than me, who have lived through a generation and have greater experience than me, but we have lived through an economy. There were constraints within the economic system, there were constraints because of the lack of resource in the society, but they've lived in an economic system which, if I may be constrained to describe, as a life of shortages that we lived through. Take any segment. Compare the situation post-91 as it has gradually progressed. Compare it to the pre-1991 situation. Compare it to a situation in 1996. Let us take any segment. You are apologetic about giving credit to the private sector in the telecom area, but according to me, if there is one case which makes out a case study for this ideological debate, it is perhaps there is no better illustration than the telecom sector itself. Sir, we had a setup till 1996 where we had a state sector monopoly on the telecom industry. 1996, this country's teledensity was 0.8%. 1996, the queues for telecom were 10 years and 12 years. Earlier in the early part of the 90s, the government took a decision, a very correct decision, to decide to open out to the private sector. A large number of us had also raised questions because we had all grown up in that mindset. Is it a sector which can be opened up to the private sector? There was criticism of the decision. But I must say and confess today the decision was vindicated. It is vindicated because today you are at a stage, after 6 years of implementation of that reform process, where you are close to not only a 4% teledensity in this country, where you have not only eliminated the queues, you have not only brought down the prices and the values of the services, you've also given a much better quality service as far as the consumer is concerned. Had we had the economic system at any stage, either at the stage of opening out, for which the credit would then go to the government which was then in control, or even the change of policy that took place in 1999, which enabled the cost of services to come down, had the governments not taken that courageous decision, perhaps the success story of the telecom sector would not have been there to sing. Let us take various other sectors. Pharmaceutical sector. Today you are legitimately one of the world leaders as far as pharmaceuticals are concerned. This is the impact of the post-1991 situation. Take for instance the auto sector. You are world leaders as far as two-wheelers are concerned. The plurality of choice to the consumer is far more. Quality is there. Services have come down. You are speaking in terms of a food riot. Well, a food riot is something which we could envisage in the days of food shortages. We may even today in states have trouble with the distribution system. But in a stage where we have gradually moved from to an economy of surplus, where we are in a position to send out 6 to 8,000 crores of food grain out of this country every year, unless we have our own difficulties at the local level in terms of our distribution system, the days of food riot which you imagine in this country are far from over. The days of, I'm afraid, are far over. There is no question of that situation being envisaged today. If it does arise, it's really because of some problem in the distribution setup at the level in which such difficulties can take place. It is this precise reason, sir, and which we can translate to any area. we must realize today that we are in a situation, one, how does the economy grow? The economy grows if there is investment. The economy grows if there is profitability. If there is profitability, there is going to be further investment. There is going to be further generation of employment. If there is further generation of investment, profitability, further revenues to the state, if the state is enriched in terms of revenue, then certainly there is going to be a larger concentration and investment on infrastructure. And if there is a larger investment on infrastructure, you come back, there will be still larger investment as far as the economy is concerned. Are we to move in this direction? Or are we to now today get bogged down to a debate where we decide to take the situation backwards? Today you need an economy in the manufacturing sector which is to be internationally competitive. Now to make it internationally competitive, the argument which we always say, why must our domestic industry, how does it, the manufacturing sector, become internationally competitive? It becomes competitive, and one of the hurdles we say are we giving them utilities at the same cost at which they are available to their counterparts world over? Are we giving them the same labor law regime which is available to their competitors world over? Are we giving them the straight away the cost of capital which is available to their counterparts world over? Now, in case you are talking in terms of consensus, the consensus then has to be, how do you take the 1991 process further? How do you move further in the direction? You don't move further by saying, all right, to make industry competitive, give it capital at cost which is internationally competitive. The moment you do that, I will turn around and say, give the favorite argument which you just did give, but my old pensioners are suffering because interest rates, as far as interest rates payable to them are going down. Cost of utilities, somebody will have to pay for the cost of utilities. Either the industry will pay the very high cost of power and other utilities, or it will have to come from the taxpayer through the exchequer, which means higher taxes. Now in such situations, the government has made a concerted effort in the last 2 years to find out how do you implement power sector reforms. And I must say, sir, that this is one area which is a difficult area in terms of political popularity for every chief minister. But then chief minister after chief minister in their own small way, cutting across party lines, are trying to see how they implement it. You have, I'm sorry.